I mean, I think that if you want to make someone who's getting over because they're cool look not cool, this would be the way to do it. This is a way to throw water on Trick Williams. Happy weekend, everybody. I wanted to share my quick opinions and ratings on last night's Smackdown before tonight's Backlash. And it was an interesting show, to say the least. You know, the last 2 weeks I've sat here and I have condemned the show for trying to be an even more cringe version of Saturday Night Live, where we have too much goofy shit going on. And with what closed out last night's episode, I feel like more people have gotten on board with that. However, before the main event, before the last half hour of the show, I actually feel like the first half of the show was quite good. They put effort into telling stories last night. So I'm going to have some good ratings for some stuff on the show last night. It's just too bad that it's being marred by the goofy shit. It started with a Jacob Fatu promo talking about how he's going to take that title from Roman Reigns at Backlash, because when they were young, they always talked about Roman being the future, and when he was young, nobody saw anything in him. Now they want to talk nice to him and tell him to fall back and fall in line. So they are continuing to play up Jacob Fatu kind of being the black sheep of the family, which I think they've done a good job of. The Usos interrupted, tried to talk down Fatu again. They talked about how Fatu's family will be at ringside, but they're going to see him lose, and his wife and children will have to acknowledge the tribal chief. But Jacob Fatu doesn't want to hear this, because it's not just a main event for him. He's saying this is about his family, and his family's going to see him win the title. And he also made sure to tell the Usos that if they try to interfere, he will burn the whole place down. I think they've done a tremendous job of booking Jacob Fatu for this match with Roman. He seems like a very strong challenger. It really does seem like he can beat Roman. I don't think he's going to, but they have built him up. They pushed him very hard these past few weeks. They have made him seem almost unstoppable, while at the same time staying true to his character of not just being the black sheep of the family, but kind of like your everyday man who just wants to win this for his family. I think the Jacob Fatu stuff has been the best stuff the WWE has been doing these past few weeks, so I gave this segment a 3 on the fire scale. They also followed up on Jacob Fatu and Royce Keys after that segment, where they dapped it up. But then after Jacob Fatu walked away, Solo approached Royce Keys again, and this is after Solo and Talla Tonga attacked Royce last week. And so Solo still wants an answer from Royce Keys. I like that we are actually making Royce Keys seem like a bigger part of the show already. I think that is good booking, so I gave it a 2 on the fire scale. Next up was a match between Tiffany Stratton versus Kiana James. It was kind of a basic match where Kiana worked the leg. I do think it was kind of hurt by the commercial early on in the match, because Kiana James came into the match with a lot of fire, but then it went to commercial, and when it came back, the same fire wasn't quite there. But it was a fine enough match, and Tiffany retained in the end. Still don't love Tiffany as champion. I still think she is weak these days, but I gave her a 1 on the fire scale for this match. We then started the funeral for the Gingerbread Man and those backstage segments. Sami Zayn asking Nick Aldis why he's letting all of this happen. And then, of course, R-Truth gets brought into it, who is very sad about the Gingerbread Man, which I guess does fit the R-Truth character. But this is what started our night for the Gingerbread Man, and I just think the whole thing is cringe. It is comedy that they take it too far. You know, they had a decent thing when it was Sami Zayn in the Gingerbread Man suit attacking Trick and Lil Yachty. That was fine, but in typical WWE style, they have to dumb everything down too much. I didn't rate this on the garbage scale yet, but it was the first start of the night where I was like, oh, this is gonna be a cringe night, isn't it? I gave it a 0 on the fire scale though for that segment. Talla Tonga versus Damien Priest was next, and we have our battle of the big men. I think they did a good job in this match of telling the story that they wanted to tell. The story they have been telling with Talla Tonga is that he is a monster. And so he dominated the first part of the match, but eventually Damien Priest was able to get momentum. But then the MFT was out, but Talla could not put Damien away. R-Truth came out to try and even the odds, even though Damien Priest told him not to come to ringside. Priest ended up attacking Solo and sending him into Tama, but he got dropped by Talla Tonga, who beat him with the choke slam. I think this match did what it needed to do. Talla went over, although he still needed help from the MFT. So they still made Damien Priest look strong enough because he couldn't be put away. It might also make more tension for R-Truth and Damien Priest. I still don't care about them as a tag team, but it's a step in a right direction, perhaps. So I gave that match a 2 on the fire scale. It was better than I thought it was going to be, because Talla Tonga can be kind of boring sometimes. The post-match was a possible beatdown on the tag team champions, but Royce Keys ended up coming out and staring down the MFTs. And it didn't get physical, though, but it's still a teasing what Royce Keys is going to do. Will he join the MFT, or will he be another thorn in their side? I'm interested. I think they have done a good job with Royce Keys and trying to, introduce him better on the main roster. So I gave that a 1 on the fire scale. Next up was the first Danhausen segment of the night, where he's trying to find a partner. Miz and Kit Wilson interrupt. They're not worried about the match because Danhausen doesn't have any friends. He gave Danhausen a mirror, saying that who would want to team with Danhausen. The only person that would want to team with Danhausen is Danhausen. But this gave Danhausen an idea. I don't even know what that kind of idea is going to be. Is it going to be a partner also in Danhausen face paint? I don't know. This segment was a bad skit. It was one of those bad wannabe Saturday Night Live skits, even though the next segment with Danhausen would be even worse. But I gave this a -1 on the garbage scale. Then we had the WWE putting the Gingerbread Man in various famous WWE moments over time, which at first I was like, this is a good idea. But the WWE did what they've been doing and beat it into the ground all night. We kept having to see pictures, eventually seeing Gingerbread Man climbing Mount Everest. And so it just became stupid. But initially, I thought it was a good idea. We had Gunther with Nick Aldis and Paul Heyman. Nick Aldis gave Paul Heyman a contract. This is Paul Heyman doing the favor for Gunther that he said he would, which is get him on SmackDown, I guess, and get a title shot with Cody Rhodes. I've been saying this since I've started reviewing more consistently. Cody Rhodes, I'm tired of him. This segment was nothing to me. I'm just going to say right now, I gave this segment between Cody and Paul Heyman and Gunther a 0, because a 0 to me, if I'm giving ratings, is not good, not bad, just there. And that's already how I feel about this feud. I think Gunther is a very boring character. I think I have Cody Rhodes fatigue. Putting them together isn't exactly going to light the world on fire. And frankly, I think Paul Heyman's whole shtick is also pretty still. Because, if the bloodline thing is still in general with it, which it is, I think Paul Heyman being the wise man is even more still. And I appreciate that there is a manager in wrestling again. But it hasn't worked for the Vision, and it hasn't worked for me here. But yeah, this Gunther and Cody build was to build for a match in the future, I think at the end of the month or the beginning of June, in the Clash in Italy event. But it got a 0 from me. Matt Cardona versus Ricky Saints was next, and Saints got his first win on the main roster, but it was as boring as possible. And I don't think it's going well for Ricky Saints on the main roster. He once again came out to a quiet crowd, and he debuted last week, but he lost to Cody. He gets a win this week, but the match is kind of just not very good. So yeah, I got a -1 from me on the garbage scale, and I think that Ricky Saints has a long way to go here on the main roster. The next segment was for Brie Bella and Paige out for a chat, talking about how there's a lot of teams coming for their titles, which of course brought out Fatal Influence, who says that the champions should be worried about them. I think they've done a really good job introducing Fatal Influence onto the main roster. Unlike Ricky Saints, who is struggling, I think JC Jane and her partners, I mean, it's good. It's great for JC Jane, but I think Fatal Influence in general is coming across as an actual threat on the main roster as heels, and that is a good thing. The Irresistible Forces also came out during this segment, and they laid out the tag team champions, which brought out Rhea Ripley. She had a stare down with Lash Legend. I feel like they're at least attempting to really build up the women's roster on SmackDown, which is something they did need to do. So they're making progress pretty quickly here, and I thought this segment was good for Fatal Influence. They've had a lot of good segments since they came up to the main roster, so I only gave it a 1 on the fire scale, though, because it wasn't exactly, the most riveting thing. Neither was the 6-woman tag match, Fatal Influence versus Rhea Ripley, Charlotte, Alexa Bliss. I don't personally love multi-person tag matches. However, unlike most of those tag matches that these wrestling companies just throw out there for a match to have on the show, I do feel like this at least had a build over the past couple of weeks with Fatal Influence, trying to take out all 3 women they went against in this match. Plus, we had the return of Jade Cargill, who pulled Ripley off the apron at the end when she needed a hot tag, which got JC Jane the win for Fatal Influence. So this was good because Fatal Influence got a win, which I think is good for them as heels to remain like an actual force on SmackDown. And I'm glad to see Jade Cargill back, even though I think she needs work as a character. Like, people shit on her for her wrestling, and I don't really think that they need to as much as they do, but she does need better writing in general. I gave it a 2 on the fire scale, and then post-match, Cargill glared at Fatal Influence, and they walked to the back, and then Cargill went after Alexa Bliss, but Charlotte got back in, but out came Michin and B-Fab to beat down on her. Ripley tried to make the save, got beat down as well. I think that this group of Cargills needs more work because Fatal Influence is new, and I feel like they've already had better booking than Cargill and her flunkies. I still gave it a 1 on the fire scale because I want to see it get better. And it's good to see Jade back. I hope they have a real story for her this time. The next match was Talla Tonga versus Royce Keys, which they set up because Talla Tonga wants to be the one to teach Royce Keys a lesson. And however, this match was very boring. So it got a 0 from me. Like I said earlier, when I give a 0, it means it wasn't good, but it wasn't bad, but it was kind of just there. The last 2 segments really sucked the energy out of the entire show, though, and it's what most of the audience out there is remembering, which is why they're shitting on this show. Danhausen was in a laboratory where he had chemicals and like he was doing chemistry or something, but like, why? This is how he's gonna find a partner, by doing scientific work. Like, is he creating a Frankenstein? I don't know what the hell his partner is going to be, who it's going to be. It's probably just going to be Jelly Roll, which is not a good thing. I thought this segment was weird and cringe. I don't think any Danhausen segments worked last night. I gave this a -3. And the last couple weeks, I've been fair to Danhausen. I think he can be funny sometimes. I think sometimes it's too stupid, though. Last night, it fell into too stupid. And speaking of stupid, we then had our funeral for the Gingerbread Man, which the WWE has put a lot of effort into these Gingerbread Man segments. And I think Trick Williams really is the one that came up with a lot of the Gingerbread Man things. At least initially, with Sami Zayn looking like the Gingerbread Man and all of that. I've heard him in interviews talking about that. This was before these past 2 weeks, though, when the Gingerbread Man died. This segment was extremely cringe. You know, Trick doing the funeral, having a backup choir, doing some singing. I don't think it was funny. I don't think it was good. I mean, I think that if you want to make someone who's getting over because they're cool look not cool, this would be the way to do it. This is a way to throw water on Trick Williams, even though I think Trick himself thinks this is a good idea. And Sami comes out and thinks the whole thing is stupid and that Trick is paying too much money to have this done. This is a weird way for them to build up this Trick versus Sami Zayn feud. I think maybe, is it outside the box? Yes, you can say that. But did it work? I don't think it did. That segment was extremely cringe, and I don't think it helped Trick look better. It made him look less cool. And that is a very bad thing, because he's the person that I think they could really put a rocket on his back and really push him hard. But, like, what even is he right now with these segments with the Gingerbread Man? What is the Trick character right now? Because I couldn't tell you that. So I gave it a -3 on the garbage scale. I hope they can actually put more effort into honing Trick Williams' character rather than trying to get the Gingerbread Man over with. I'm sure TKO thinks they're going to be able to sell a bunch of Gingerbread Man shirts, and maybe they can to the kids. But that segment didn't land. It did not hit the landing whatsoever. And I don't think it was good for Trick. And it hurt the overall show, because I gave some good ratings to some of the segments on this show. But these last 2 segments took it all away. When I added up the math, it was just another SmackDown show getting a 0 from me. And now we head into Backlash tonight, which to me is kind of a one-match show, which is Roman versus Jacob Fatu. That is the match they built up the best. I would like for Asuka versus Io Sky to be a good match. And I think Trick and Sami can have a good match, but it's a shame that this is the way that they ended up building the match. And I don't think it did anything good for the Trick Williams character. I think it just took away from the Trick Williams character, because I don't know what that character is right now.